if the Israelis want to eradicate Hamas as a military organization and erode, if not destroy, its sovereignty in Gaza, this is not an operation that's going to be measured in days or weeks. It'll take months.
What did you make of the Blinken visit? Was it successful? It's obviously important for the Secretary of State to be visible in the region.
Well, yeah, it's not just in the region, and it's the reality that the Biden administration over the last several weeks has been filling in a pretty pro-Palestinian frame in an effort to counterbalance the perception that Washington is exclusively in Israel's corner. And no matter how weak and feckless Mahmoud Abbas may be, he's in the 18th year of a 4-year term. If there is a post-conflict Gaza, then in fact you're going to need Palestinian participation. And regardless of how weak he is, and the fact that he is yet to condemn the Hamas terror attack on October 7, Abbas really is the only acceptable partner for both the United States, Israel, and the international community. So I think Biden was, in some respects, trying to demonstrate the capacity that the U.S. understands Palestinian needs and requirements, particularly concern about Israeli settler vigilantism in the West Bank, which is a major problem. So I think that was the objective of the visit. Whether he accomplished it or not, this is a moving target, and it is a highly uncertain and incomplete story at this point.
Can I just dwell on that point about Mahmoud Abbas? Because we've covered Israel-Gaza, obviously, for almost 4 weeks now, and everybody knows an enormous amount about what is happening. But there are some points that actually, I think, need to be teased out. Tell us what kind of man Mahmoud Abbas is, and where you made the point he's obviously 18 years into a 4-year term, but also that he's slightly, I paraphrase, hopeless. I mean, what kind of a man is he? Is he capable of stepping up, supposing the end game that the Israelis seek of defeating Hamas and destroying Hamas? Is he capable of filling that void?
In a number of administrations that I served, we dealt with Abbas. Initially as Arafat's key lieutenant. When Arafat died in 2004, Abbas was the only organizational man who had the, I guess you could describe as the electoral legitimacy. He did win presidential elections in 2005. What he lacked is the street cred and what I call the legitimacy of results, which are only measured in Palestinian eyes in two aspects. Number one, ending the Israeli occupation. And number two, creating an economic horizon for most Palestinians. And I think Abbas has clearly not succeeded in any of that. And in 2007, which never would have happened under Arafat's tenure, Hamas staged what is in effect a coup, overthrew the Fatah PA security apparatus in Gaza, and essentially created a tiny statelet to rival the 40% of the West Bank that Abbas controls. I think he's a good man. I think he does not believe in the rule of the gun. I think he could be a pretty credible interlocutor for Israel if, in fact, he was capable and had the support of the Palestinian public, but he does not.
Yeah, but do you think he's capable?
Capability in terms of measuring any Palestinian leader's cred on the street has to do with the degree to which Abbas is able to deliver at least progress toward the end of the Israeli occupation. And unfortunately, largely due to circumstances out of his control, the opposite appears to be happening. The Netanyahu government, certainly its two extremist ministers, are pursuing policies in the West Bank that are annexationist in everything but name.
Yes, good point. Thanks. The other thing that when we talk about Gaza, I mean, people talk about Hamas effectively holding the Palestinians in Gaza hostage, and also people criticize Netanyahu for effectively having, how can I put this, a sort of devil's pact with Hamas, where he didn't press them in order to maintain security and peace. If Hamas is who replaces Hamas, if that is even possible?
If the Israelis want to eradicate Hamas as a military organization and erode, if not destroy, its sovereignty in Gaza, this is not an operation that's going to be measured in days or weeks. It'll take months. And at some point, the Israelis may well accomplish the destruction of Hamas's military capacity. Then the question, of course, is, are they going to stay? And if they don't want to stay, which they don't, they want to reoccupy Gaza, who's it going to be turned over to? Well, the day after scenarios are pretty thin, actually. An international mechanism composed of regional or international peacekeepers. I mean, if you do the peacekeeper to population ratio, 2.3 million people, you'd need 10,000 peacekeepers in Gaza. Who's going to do that? Brits going to contribute a contingent of gendarme or military police or military forces, the United States? Are the Arabs going to patrol the streets of Gaza and run a counterinsurgency against whatever residual Hamas assets actually remain there? So the plan would be to create a measure of stability through this international mechanism, yet to be created, of course, and then to bring back I'll use the Secretary of State's words here, an effective and, quote, revitalized Palestinian Authority. To do that, you need to link any post-conflict situation in Gaza to the pursuit of the much maligned, many believe it's gone the way of the dodo, two-state solution.
The two-state solution, yeah.
And, we're talking now 2024 in an American election year, Jerusalem, border, security, refugees, end of all conflict and claims. I mean, that's a big stretch for two communities that are going to be highly traumatized.
Talking of which, there is a possibility that we could have President Trump this time next year. He famously moved the US Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. What would a Trump presidency look like, assuming the Israel-Gaza conflict is carrying on much as it is today?
Right. Having voted and worked for Republicans and Democrats, Republicans of a certain kind, I shudder at the possible thought. And frankly, as far as the Trump president is concerned, it's not foreign policy that concerns me. Yeah, that's going to be an issue. China, Taiwan, Russia, Ukraine, Iran, North Korea. It's what a Trump presidency is going to do to this republic and the institutions and effective governance. That's really what bothers me the most. But in answer to the question, sure. I mean, Trump will pursue at best a chaotic sort of foreign policy, America first. Well, actually, it's Trump first, putting his own vanity and narcissism at the top of his agenda. So if I were anyone, including our very close British allies, I'd be extremely worried, as I am about our domestic travails, should he again, following Grover Cleveland's one term, then absence, then another term presidency, worried about what he would do to the well-being and health of the American Republic.